Hey guys, Miss Short here. We're getting ready to start body organization and homeostasis. We're getting ready to start a huge unit on body systems. So we're going to start out by teaching you about how the body is organized. So you can see this pyramid starting at the very bottom. Everything is made of chemicals. Chemicals create cells, and we've already learned about cells. Um, Cells of the same kind come together to create tissues. Tissues come together. Think about your skin, think about your heart, think about muscles, think about your organs like kidneys and lungs. Those certain tissues come together to make organs. And then ultimately, organs come together to create organ systems, like your circulatory system and your integumentary system and your respiratory system. And those come together to create you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go back and review is cells. So if we think about cells, our cells make up all things in the body. So it's all living organisms. So our bodies, since we're studying the human body system, all human bodies are made of different kinds of cells. And we remember the parts of the cell. This is an animal cell because it's round. You have the nucleus, you have the ER, the little dots are the ribosomes, you have the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. You have the cell membrane, which is the gatekeeper, allows things to go in and out. You have the Golgi bodies right here that package and transport everything. You have vacuoles, you have lysosomes, you have lots of different things going on, and all of those come together to create different kinds of tissues. So cells of the same kind create different kinds of tissues, and we're going to look mainly at 4 different kinds of tissues. Tissues are made of similar cells, and they get together and work together to perform a specific function. So the 4 that we are going to focus on are muscle cells. Okay. We're going to look at epithelial. Epithelial means the outside covering, and that can mean outside of your body like your skin, or the outside of an organ, okay, which is inside your body but has a covering on the outside. Connective tissue, which are things like your cartilage, tendons, ligaments, those kinds of things. And then we're also going to look at the nervous system. This is your brain, the central nervous system, all of the nerves that come out from your spinal cord that go out through your body. Okay, so first one we're going to focus on is muscle tissue. So if we look at muscle tissue, it allows movement. And the way it allows movement, it has these really cool striations in it that look similar to rubber bands. So you can see those right there. And what those do is they contract and move. They contract, which means they lengthen or shorten, excuse me, and then they stretch out to lengthen. So think about when you pull your knee up or when you pull your arm up, your muscles in part of your arm, the front of your arm, your bicep is contracting, and your tricep, which is on the outside, is elongating. Okay, so muscles work together in that way. Okay, so we're going to look at muscle tissue, and there's kind of an example. You can see this is your bicep. As this one lengthens, this one contracts, and then when this one lengthens, this one contracts. So they work opposite of each other. Then we have connective tissue, and connective tissue is exactly what it says. It connects and puts all the parts of your body together. You have bone tissue that is connective tissue. You have fat tissue that is connective tissue, and they often look like these little rubber balls. And you can see in these areas that they look like that. And I'll show you a better picture in a later slide. You have epithelial tissue. Epi means outside, so this covers inside and out. So this is the outside of your body and the inside of your body, but on the outside of your organs are covered with this kind of tissue. This is skin that protects organs, and skin that protects your outer body. And here's just a microscopic picture of that. For instance, the lining of your digestive system is covered in epithelial tissue, and that allows food to be digested and absorbed more easily. so it takes in nutrients. So it's a different kind of epithelial tissue than your epithelial tissue on the outside of your body. And this gives you an idea of the epithelial tissue on the outside of your body. It gives you sort of a close-up. If you could look at that in a 3D image and see there are different layers. It shows you where the capillaries and arteries run. It shows you pores and hair follicles. So kind of a cool picture. And then you have nerve tissue. Nerve tissue sends and receives electrical messages to the brain. Now, some of you don't have that one operating a whole lot because some of you don't use your brain a whole lot, but just kidding. Maybe. This one is really cool because it looks like spider webs. And actually, if you remember, we did a microslide viewer with a brain or a nerve cell. And if you remember correctly, you could not see the whole thing because they are so long. So you can see the spider web looking parts. This is the actual nerve, and then it sends out those impulses everywhere. So you have nerves in your hands, you have nerves in your head, you have nerves on your face, you have nerves everywhere. And these nerves send and receive messages. So it tells you if you are touching something hot, that it's hot to move your hand away. Or if you're touching something cold, to move your hand away. It tells you when there's pain involved. So the nerve tissue itself is just extraordinary and fantastic, but what it does for your body is also extraordinary and fantastic. So you take tissues and they come together to create organs. So organs, we know, perform a specific job. So think about the organ like the player and the organ system, the team. So the whole system needs those individual pieces for the organ system to work together. For example, the heart is the player and it's part of the circulatory system, and it works along with the respiratory system to circulate blood and oxygen throughout your body. So this would be your player, and it works with a bigger system of your blood, your capillaries, like I said, your respiratory system, your arteries, to pump blood and move that throughout the body. So the organs are the players and the organ system is the team. So we're going to move into organ systems. An organ system is made up of one or more organs, and you actually have 11 of those in your body. Several organ systems a lot of times will work together to make up an organism, which is you. So you have 11 different kinds of organ systems in your body that do different things. You have a respiratory system, which involves your lungs, and your diaphragm and your esophagus and your trachea that help oxygen move. You have urinary system, which involves your kidneys and your bladder. You have the reproductive system, which is how new organisms are made. You have the integumentary system, which is the outside. You have your skeletal system, which is vitally important. Otherwise, you'd just be slinking around. It gives your body structure and support. You have the muscle system, which attaches to the circulatory system, which allows all of that to move. You have a nervous system, which allows your muscles and different organs to get the impulses and the things that they need to function properly. Your endocrine system, which involves all of your it's a sort of your regulatory system. It sends out hormones and things. You have a cardiovascular system, which involves, this is your circulatory system, which is all of your lungs, your heart, all of the way that blood gets pumped throughout your body. Lymphatic system is the system that cleans your blood. You have lymph nodes. Sometimes they'll get swollen if you have sickness like strep throat or an ear infection. So the lymph system really cleans out your blood. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, the digestive system, because everybody loves to eat. So the digestive system helps move food and nutrients throughout your body. And then you have your respiratory system, which was where we started. So all of these individually are important, but all of these work together to make you who you are. So if one thing is wrong with one of those, then it can affect the other systems. So we know that all of these individually are vitally important, but they all also have to work together. Okay, so something that we work on that we want to make sure our body has is called homeostasis, and go all the way back to the cells. to the cellular level when we think about that cellular membrane allowing what moves in and out of the cell to be regulated. So that's important because that process keeps the internal environment, your inside body, stable despite what might be going on the outside. So, for example, if you're outside on a really, really hot day and it's really hot and you're sweating a lot, that's a good thing because your body is cooling off so that you maintain an internal temperature. We know that that's about 98.6. Um, if you stop sweating, then your body is going to become overheated, and that's going to cause a whole lot more problems. So, sweating is a really good thing because, especially when it's hot outside, because that helps cool you off. And that process is a process of homeostasis, which keeps your body um, normal inside, the internal environment inside the same, despite the fact that it's really hot outside. And the opposite happens when it's really, really cold. If you've ever been outside in the cold, like it hadn't been super cold this year, but on super cold days or when you're out in the snow, you might start to shiver if you're out there too long. And that is to produce heat internally. So we know that we shiver because we are cold, but that also serves a purpose to help keep our body temperature regulated on the inside. So we know that people that suffer from things like hypothermia, if they're outside too long, then they lose that ability to keep that internal temperature and then regulated. And then if the internal temperature drops, it's the same as what happens if you have a heat stroke. Your body can't function if it's not in that homeostasis, if it's not regulated. And there's some things that might change homeostasis. For instance, stress. This is when there's a potentially threatening, challenging, or situation in your body that can cause problems. So if you're sick, that makes your body under stress. If you undergo some kind of stressful or traumatic event, I know all of you remember the day that we had the um, potential tornadoes around and how that was stressful. I'm sure that if we had thought about it, if you go back and think about your heart rate was up that day, you were probably, some of you were breathing very shallow, almost kind of like hyperventilating. Those are all reactions because there's something threatening going on. And a lot of times stress can be induced by something mentally or something that is actually happening to your body that causes some changes. And when that happens, then your body will often react. You get something called adrenaline. Sometimes we call this fight or flight, which kind of gives you a little burst of energy and it allows you to take action. So, for instance, if you're in a scary situation where, maybe there's a dangerous situation, maybe there's a fire or something that you've got to get away from, or like the day we were in the tornadoes, this kind of gives you a little burst of energy and your body actually changes so that you get ready to take some action. It allows you to think more clearly. Your heart beats faster. It moves more oxygen. Your breathing becomes faster. And sometimes this gives us just enough energy to get away or get out of that situation or to push through this situation. And this doesn't have to be anything dangerous. This can, like I said, this can be simple things like, maybe you have a situation where you've got your finger stuck in between two slats of wood, and you know that the harder that you pull, the tighter it's going to get because your finger might be swelling. So adrenaline might kick in and help you come up with a situation where you can get your finger out. And I know that's kind of a silly example, but you've seen stories where people have picked up cars and trees and moved structures off of people. And a lot of times that's that adrenaline that kicks in. You often hear it referred to as sort of fight or flight. And once the stress is gone, once whatever is going on, like the day we had the tornadoes, then your body will return to its normal state. Usually homeostasis is restored in just a few minutes. So as long as that stress leaves your body and you're not continuously threatened, then your body will just return to that homeostasis and, things go back to normal. So stress can threaten homeostasis, But sometimes that's a good thing in the way your body reacts with this fight or flight, gives you a little bit of adrenaline to push through or get through. And this can even be something as simple as maybe you're a runner, or you're up to bat, or you're in a performance that your body is under just enough stress that it gives you enough adrenaline to sort of push through. So just to summarize everything, we start with cells, and cells make up tissues, and tissues of the same kind will come together and they will create organs. And organs are things like your kidneys, your heart, your lungs, your diaphragm, your bladder, your pancreas, your liver. Those are all organs. And all of those organ systems come together and they create, or all of those organs come together and they create organ systems. Okay. And organ systems, we know that there are 11 of those in the human body. They come to get all together to make up an organism, which is you. So we're going to be looking at, we're going to start out this first week with looking at just this body organization and how this works. And then we're going to break down each individual organ system so that you get an idea of how the circulatory system works, how the endocrine system works, how the respiratory system works, and then how all of those come together to create you and me and every other human walking the face of the earth. If by chance, our order is to stay out until the 15th. If by chance we do get to come back to school, Miss May and I have planned to hopefully do frog dissection at the end. But if not, and we end up spending the year kind of online this way, then we're going to do a virtual frog dissection. So just stay tuned for that. But if you have any questions, the good thing is you can go back and watch the screencast several times to help you answer the questions. The question sheet that goes with this particular screencast goes from beginning to end. So I didn't do any, trickery with you. You can just follow it straight along and go back and rewatch anything that you don't get. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.